Hello, we're back for episode 3, and today we are driving from Fort Worth, Texas to St. Charles, Missouri, or O'Fallon, Missouri specifically. Just a quick look here. We've got multiple stops. We're fully charged, but for some reason it only says 272 miles. I'm kind of curious about that because you read that it's supposed to be 303, but I think it does calculate based on how you drive and how I've been driving, and I tend to have a heavy foot, so lots of hard accelerations, etc. Of course, we won't have that on the trip very much, so hopefully this will go well, and I will let you know at each stop. Talk to you soon. Back again, and at the supercharger, the first supercharger in Oklahoma. Couple things I forgot to mention. One thing I think was interesting is on my way here, obviously the car knows when I'm going to stop at a supercharger. It started preconditioning the battery quite a bit before we got here, and it I noticed it was preconditioning the battery for charging for supercharger at 38 miles, so probably somewhere 40 to 38 mile range it started preconditioning. I thought that was interesting. It's charging now, already had 27 miles. As you can see, it's not charging real fast. This is a level 1 supercharger, so it's not the fastest. I'm gonna be here a little while. So there's stop number 1. Have a little more for you the next stop. Okay, we have arrived in Catoosa, Oklahoma, which is Tulsa area. At the supercharger now. It looks like a level 1. As you can see, we didn't get we got pretty close, down to 15 miles of range, and yeah, and I'm glad I fully charged instead of going when it told me to, because like I said, it is a heavy wind trip and it's been tough on battery usage. Anyway, it'll be a little while sitting here, so good time to get lunch and take a walk. This is a good sized area. It's a mall slash hotel area, I think. There's a Hard Rock Cafe here. I think I'll probably go in there for lunch, and I'll let you know on the next part of the trip. But so far so good. Hello, we're back. We have arrived at the Joplin supercharger. Last leg was only 100 miles. The one before that was over 200. It ate some miles. Still battling wind, I think. We'll find out when I get out of the car here. But so far so good on the trip. Next stop is Rolla. This one's 35 minutes. Rolla's only 20. I'll probably go longer just to make sure I have plenty of charge when I get there, so I don't have to charge immediately when I get there. But so far so good. Did make a mistake, and it's an interesting one. I had it set for no toll roads, and it took me off of 35 to avoid the tolls of 44. I didn't realize that until I'd been off for about 20 minutes and said, oh, wait a minute. Now I know it's taking me off the road. So I changed that. It probably added miles. Might have helped in range, though, because it's a lot slower miles. My speed was limited because it kept telling me stay under 70, stay under 60, and so on. But once I got off the back roads and got back to the interstate, I had saved up enough miles, so to speak, that I could go real speeds again. So lesson learned. Anyway, here we are at Joplin. You're at a hotel. Doesn't seem like there's any place to go to get something to eat unless there's something here. I don't know if this is a connected to a restaurant or just a hotel. Anyway, we'll find out. See ya at the next segment. So we've arrived in Rolla. It gave me very weird directions to get here, but for the second time it had it on the correct side of the street. Yes, it's been wrong twice, and I had to pass the places and turn around and find them myself. This time it did have it correct. Fortunately, I didn't have much to go because I had to ended up on the interstate going the wrong way. Had to turn around and come back. Oh, so that wasted in some miles. Anyway, time to charge and at the last leg of the trip. I've arrived in St. Louis. The trip overall took 14 hours and 7 minutes. The reason it took longer is because I kept charging extra at each stop for a supercharger because of the wind I mentioned. The headwind does have a major effect on your energy usage. Also, the last stop I charged an extra 30 minutes because I didn't want to be low when I got here. I wanted to make sure I had enough power to get around a little bit, do some things last night and this morning before I had to go to supercharger again. Overall, the trip was good. It's interesting that it took significantly longer, but it was a lot more relaxed trip. Traffic was terrible. I didn't even look at the calendar to see that it was Easter weekend when I decided to make this trip. I did have one issue. A message kept popping up. It didn't do it every segment, but I think at least 2 segments it popped up and said safety slash auto drive or autopilot functions not available. I know that the active cruise control was working because I used that. I didn't use autopilot completely, auto steer portion much because there was so much traffic, lots of changing lanes, etc. So that would have been pretty much useless since it, turns auto steer off every time you change lanes. It's sad that it doesn't work like it used to, where in my first Tesla, you just hit the turn signal and it would go into the lane in that direction. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that anymore, and they have made it so you have to get full self-driving to do things like that. Anyway, it's a good trip. I think it'll be quite a bit quicker on the way back. Hopefully I don't have the headwind, and I'm not gonna charge extra, a whole lot extra at each stop. We'll probably charge extra because I like a little margin for error because you never know what's happening. We'll see. I will give you an update when I get back and see how that went. See you soon. Hello, it's Chris, back from my trip. I've been back for a couple days, but I just haven't had an opportunity, partly because I get back Sunday night and I didn't sleep at all. Yeah, I have sleep issues, and that kind of messed me up for a couple days. But I'm back, and I have more conclusions, and I'll give you a hint of some things I'll talk about upcoming too. First of all, it is a great road trip car. I came back much faster than I went, partly because of that toll avoidance mistake I made. It was 5 stops coming back. It added a stop in Oklahoma City. They basically set it up so it was 100 to 140 miles for each segment. So you never had any range anxiety. I still tended to charge an extra 5-10 minutes after it said you can continue the trip. But in fairness, if you just look at the percentage of charge you're supposed to have when you reach your destination,
your next segment destination. Generally, they leave you pretty good percentage. You don't really need to do that. I do have a tendency to drive fast. I generally stick to like 8 over speed limit. Used to drive faster than that, but I did get pulled over once for 91 in a 65, and fortunately did not go to jail. Although they could have sent me to jail for reckless driving, even though it's the only car in the road out in the middle of nowhere. I know, very strange. There were some issues. On the trip up there, I kept getting a message on the screen. It happened 2 or 3 times, and it would stay on until I supercharged again. And it basically said autopilot limited safety / autopilot features. It was still speeding up and slowing down by itself fine. I think it was more auto steer kind of things, and I wasn't using auto steer, but it is always making sure you stay in your lane, and I think that stopped when that message was coming up. I'm very curious about it. I probably will talk to Tesla and have them look up and see what the built-in test said. If you hear me refer to it, it's BIT, built-in test. They can check that over the phone. You're talking to them or send them a message, they can check it anytime they want. So that's good. Coming back, the only messages I got, and it happened a couple times, and it was my fault. It wasn't actually a problem. It's when you're using active cruise control. Sometimes, it slows you down from the car ahead of you before you would like to. You might get closer than the computer likes, and it'll flash a message that says auto braking is not something or other. Basically, it's just saying you're too close. And, I'm not going to follow close often for long periods of time. It's usually just for a second while I'm changing lanes or something like that, and that flashes up. It's a bit annoying. I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But overall, it was a good trip. It took me 12 hours and 45 minutes coming back, which basically is 3 hours longer than normal for me, or 2.5 to 3 hours longer than normal. When a gas car, a whole lot easier to drive in those segments. Stop and go to the bathroom, etc. The Tesla does need to do a better job of where superchargers are. They do need to do a better job of places that go to the bathroom. There was a supercharger where it's at a closed and a fence around it hotel. There's no place to walk to. You wouldn't go to another hotel. There was no place to eat. There was basically nothing. Now, if you wanted to go grab something after the supercharger, you could do that, but for me, that means I have to eat while I drive, and I don't really like doing that. I don't do sandwiches, so that's it for the trip report, so to speak. I do want to talk about next episode. I thought about doing an episode with someone here in town. I live in Dallas-Fort Worth area, that also just bought a Tesla Model Y. She got long range and is 2021. Mine is performance 2020. I'd like to see some of the differences. There are some. There are some ways hers is better than mine. And of course, I have a performance, so performance-wise, mine's better. But it'd be really interesting to see some of the differences. There have been changes since 2020. The 2021 model has a few differences. So I'd like to discuss that. And I don't know if that'll happen or not. I have proposed it to her. Haven't heard back. Also, I want to talk software reliability, because Tesla is a software company. I'll talk a little bit about quality too, and reliability overall. So there'll be a lot more engineering type stuff in the next video coming in a week or so. So if you like this episode, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon.